If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers. The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and 1 special day at the Mud Flats. The Mud Flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle down in the mud flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive the freezing cold, the howling wind, and the incessant pressure to quit from the instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday evening, my training class, having committed some egregious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man till there was nothing visible but our heads. The instructors told us we could leave the mud if only 5 men would quit. Only 5 men, just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the mud flat, it was apparent that some students were about to give up. It was still over 8 hours till the sun came up. 8 more hours of bone-chilling cold. The chattering teeth and the shivering moans of the trainees were so loud, it was hard to hear anything. And then one voice began to echo through the night. One voice raised in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but sung with great enthusiasm. One voice became 2, and 2 became 3, and before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept up the singing, but the singing persisted, and somehow the mud seemed a little warmer, and the wind a little tamer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it is the power of hope. The power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, King, Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never ever give up. If you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better.
I heard the last words of 18, 19, and 20-year-old boys.
CBS News Special Report.
But government casualties now are put at 200 dead, wounded, or missing.
They're all over our perimeter, and we're throwing grenades and
Hundreds of American prisoners held by the North Vietnamese.
An RPG exploded, and it did its job on me. I wanted to save them all.
A band of Viet Cong raiders blew up a power installation and attacked.
We could never be prepared for what we were about to face the next 48 hours. We leaped out of those choppers from 10 feet in the air, and I glimpsed up on Nguyen Hill. And in the distance, the enemy looked like lava flowing down off the hill. There were anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 NVA and 700 VC on that hill. Fortunately, we had each other. Our goal soon became getting as many of us out of there alive as we possibly could. Each of us had a job. As a medic, I followed the lead of my dad, who told me as a small child, "Son, if you're given a job to do, never do it halfway. You do it to the best of your ability and carry it out to the end." Wounded the first day, I refused to board the medevac. The evening of May 13th, an RPG exploded and it did its job on me. But I would have rather died on that battlefield than have heard later that one of my men was killed because their medic was not there. Sergeant Joe Mittendorf also refused to get on that chopper. He, along with Sergeant Doug Hatton, became a huge factor in keeping me alive and allowing me to rescue others. They continued to cover me for the last 24 hours with their machine guns. I heard the last words of 18, 19, and 20-year-old boys. Some thought I was their mother. I saw them take their last breath. I wanted to save them all, but I couldn't. All of a sudden, a thought out of nowhere came over me. It had been since I was a small boy that I had told my father that I loved him. So I had a quick but profound conversation with God. If he would get me out of this hell on earth so I could look my father in the face again and tell him that I loved him, I'd be the best father, the best coach, the best teacher I was capable of being. At that moment, an incredible peace came over me. When I returned home, I ran to my dad in the Chicago airport, hugged him, told him that I loved him, and he did the same. Life is not measured by the breaths that we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. When you hope and believe When you have love for someone or something bigger than yourself, anything can be accomplished. These men, my brothers, are living proof. This medal is about love, a love so deep in the soul of the Charlie Tiger brothers and me that it's beyond measurement. If there is someone you have neglected to say, I love you to, do it today. Do not wait. We are not promised tomorrow. I almost waited too long with my dad.
Mike screamed, "Grenade out!" and jumped on it, and boom! 2 snipers were providing overwatch for the other platoon that were trying to maneuver. And unbeknownst to Mike and those guys, an insurgent had seen where they were firing, had snuck up next to the side of that building, pulled out a hand grenade, pulled it, and threw it up, and that thing came right up, boom, and hit Mike on the chest. Petty Officer Mike Mansour took the entirety of that blast in his face and his chest. He lasted for another 35 minutes before he passed away on the medevac bird out. The kicker to this story is there was a stairwell right next to him. And all he had to do was jump down that stairwell to save his own life, but he didn't. He turned and jumped on the grenade, sacrificing himself so his 2 brothers could both go home and hug their wives, kiss their children, and fight another day. Once you think to yourself, what would you do? For 70 years, United States Navy SEAL team, we've been pushing the envelope. We've been setting the bar. We've been setting the standard for what the team life is and how you should live. Are you really committed to yourself physically? Because we all know when the going gets tough, the more in shape, the more focused you are on what you eat and what you consume, the better you are. I spent 15 months in the frigid waters of the Pacific Ocean, to the mountains of Afghanistan on 7 different occasions, and to the shores of Haiti doing missionary work with my church. And what I've learned in this incredible journey are a few undeniable truths about what enables us to succeed. Now, truth number 1 is you got fear in your heart always, and you can't defeat it. Everybody's like, well, that's a bummer. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is you're wired for fear, right? It's part of our lives. We have it in what we do for a living, right? You talk about fear in your lives and your personal lives with your family. Folks, we've got fear, period. So what you have to learn to do is embrace it. Truth 1. The second one is self-confidence is huge. It's important, and you got to forge it every single day. The third one is you got to live with purpose. If you don't have purpose in your life, you don't have momentum. You don't have anything driving you forward, anything pulling you out of bed every single day. And the last one, and the one I learned that left an indelible mark, not only in my heart, but in my soul, on those beaches across the street over there, is nobody does it alone. There's not a single person in this whole room right now that can raise their hand and say, you know what, Rut, I've done it by myself. Not a single person out there has helped me, not a one. We all need help. So as a result of that, you have to recognize that you have to live what I call a team. You have to be 100% focused that everything you think about, everything you do is with someone else, is with a team. Amen, right? We've been giving everything we are to our communities, to our families, to our children. But more importantly, we're willing to give everything we are and potentially everything we will ever be for the man that's next to it. This is the team life. This is what my mission here is today, is to help you understand this standard, to help you redefine your understanding of what that mission might look like for you. Are you working on it? Are you working on it right now? Did you work on it today? Are you going to go work on it tonight? Because I tell you, with those 3 things, you're on the road to commitment. I've worked with every kind of person there is on this planet. We all bleed red. What I care about is there's something that gets you out of bed every morning. There's something that you have faith in that's bigger than yourself. There's something that you're willing to sacrifice for another human being. That's powerful.
Spoiler alert, bin Laden dies at the end of it. We knew we weren't coming home from that mission. We were going to die. We're going to get shot down on the way in. We're going to run out of fuel and just be in Pakistan and live our short, miserable lives in a Pakistani prison. If anyone's going to blow himself up, it's bin Laden. We're not coming back. The guy that ended up in the point man position taking me up the stairs to bin Laden's bedroom, he pulled me aside before we left and he said, "Don't take this the wrong way. I'm going. But if we know we're going to die, why are we going?" Which is just legit. He wanted to say it out loud, and I said, that's a good point. We are not going for fame, and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later, she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper. Because that was a better alternative than burning alive, because it's 2,500 degrees inside, and her last gesture of human decency was to hold her skirt down so nobody could see her underwear as she committed suicide. And she didn't want to do any of that. She wasn't supposed to be in the fight. We're supposed to fight. That's why we're going. We were a week and a half into planning that big mission. We had some of the best minds planning the mission to kill bin Laden, and we rehearsed the perfect plan over and over and over every day with real helicopters on a real training site, 14 hours a day, and then afterwards we'd talk about it around a table with a replica. And one night, the boss said, "All right, guys, what's the worst thing that could happen?" And the youngest guy in the room said, "Well, hey, the helicopter could crash in the front yard." He's like, "What? I mean, can we talk about that for 20 seconds? And that happened. But we were able to take a potentially catastrophic event and turn it into something great because of our preparation. No matter what, we never quit. People will be so close to a goal 95% of the way there and have a bad day and then throw their hands, or a series of bad days. That's it, I quit, I'm done, You are not having a bad life, you're having a bad day. Now, saying never quit and never quitting are two different things, so I need to tell you a story. You're in the Navy, so you know how to tie a lot of knots. The test is go tie a series of knots with this rope around that rope. So the instructor will say, go tie a bowline knot. So you hold your breath and swim down there, tie a bowline knot and you back off. Spend about a minute. He comes back down and checks it and kind of like, yeah, okay, that's good. So you untie the bowline knot, you go back up, you get one breath of air, enough time for him to tell you about knot number 2. So he'll be like, okay, go tie a square knot. The test is simple. Tie 5 knots in a row, you pass. Now they give you a certain amount of attempts at each test, but a friend of mine named John was on his last attempt. If he doesn't do all 5 right now, they're going to kick him out today. He'll never be a SEAL. Lifelong dream, that's a lot of pressure. On his 5th knot attempt, he drowned. So the instructor swam down to get him. He straddled John and started immediately with a sternum rub, trying to get him to cough it up. Then he started CPR. And we could actually hear him saying to John, come back to the light. So John was out for a minute and a half, finally spit up all the water out of his lungs. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Did I pass?" So the instructor kind of sat back on him, and he's getting his color back too, because he gets to keep his job. And he goes, "Yeah, man, you passed." And John goes, "Thank God, I finally got the 5th knot." And the instructor said, "Well, no, you didn't. Look, I'm in a good mood right now, so I'm going to let you in on a secret. I don't care how many knots you know how to tie. That is not part of the curriculum to become a Navy SEAL. My job simply is to see how far you'll push yourself. You just killed yourself. You passed the goddamn tests. Good job." So, when you feel like quitting, which you will, don't quit right now. Quit tomorrow. Wake up in the morning on time and make your bed the right way, then brush your teeth. Little victories. Make it to 5 a.m. PT on time. Get through that and make it to breakfast. After breakfast, concentrate on getting to lunch. After lunch, make it to dinner. After dinner, do everything you need to do to get back in that bed. No matter how bad your day was, you get a fresh start tomorrow because your bed was made right. And the enemy's all your doubts, all your fears, and everyone you know back home that told you weren't good enough to do this. Keep your head down no matter what, never quit, and you'll be just fine. Keep moving forward.
He knocked my mom out the top of the stairs. I could see him coming down the stairs, just dragging her. And she was kind of lifeless. And that's when I got off the couch, scared to death, jumped on my father, and he beat the shit out of me. We never went to school hardly at all because we were bruised up. He also believed in just us working the family business. So going to school really didn't happen for me at all. Not only did I take a backseat, I also had a learning disability. I'll never forget in 3rd grade, there was this teacher that was extremely rough on me. And at this time in my life, I did not need this. And she believed I needed to be in a special school because of my learning disability. And this is where I was talking about, people always talk about manage your expectations. This teacher managed my expectations. She saw I had a learning disability. She saw I was socially unable to survive in this world. She saw I was messed up. So she managed my expectations. She said, we need to put David Goggins in a special school. I came from hell. And when you come from hell not knowing how to fight, this is what happens to you. What happens to you is you become a fucked up kid that cannot survive in society. I'll never forget one time during a basketball game, there was this coach, Mr. Trout. He knew me when I was a kid in that school when I was in 3rd grade getting set back. Mr. Trout always loved me. This white man loved the shit out of me. I don't know why he did. But he was my JV basketball coach my sophomore year. The visiting team was at our home stadium. It was at the end of the game, and the visiting team started chanting. I was the only black person in the whole daggone stadium. They started chanting, nigger, nigger, nigger. That's all I remember. At that time in my life, that's all I remember. But now at 42 years old, I can look back on that time with clear eyes and a clear mind and see what Mr. Trout did for me. He went in that locker room where I was crying and upset, and he cried with me. This white man cried with me, but at that time in my life, I didn't see that. All I saw was red. I saw hate. This whole town hated me. Everybody's against me. My mind lost it. And for some reason, I couldn't sleep on my bed. Until this day, I don't know why the floor felt so comfortable. And at 22, 21 years old, I went from 175 pounds to 297 pounds. Fat, out of shape, insecure. I was everything everybody said I was going to be. That's what I was. And it makes you feel like shit. So I got a job spraying for cockroaches at nighttime. Not saying it's a bad job, but I didn't want to do it. So for about 6 months, I went around to your local eatery spraying for cockroaches. This one night I came home, the first thing I do, I walk in my living room, turn the TV on. First thing I do, and then walk back to to take a shower. And I would listen to the TV as I was trying to take a shower. This day changed my life. It held me accountable for what I wasn't facing in life. They're going through Navy SEAL training. And I sat down. I came out of the shower and I sat down. Something brought me back to sit down and watch these guys go through hell. I saw a ton of them quitting, ringing the bell. Ringing the bell means you quit Navy SEAL training. I saw them putting their helmet down. This went on through the whole show. And it finally got to the very end. There was about 15 to 20 guys at the very end. And this one statement changed my life. They were all sitting there in their dress whites. And this CO, this commanding officer, stands up in front of these men. And he looked sharp, and I could tell he stood for something. And he said, we live in a world where mediocrity is often rewarded. These men up here detest mediocrity. When you hear a statement like that, it forces you to think about yourself. I wasn't even fucking mediocre. I wasn't anything. I was at the bottom of the barrel of life. I chose the 4-lane highway for my life, the easy route, the route that has gas stations, the route that has fucking signs that say 20 miles to the next service stop. All this shit. I chose that route. Most of us choose the 4-lane highway. When I was born, there was also a shovel over here in the fucking corner. No one wants to go to the shovel. They want to choose the 4-lane fucking highway. That's the nice route. The shovel means you're gonna fucking hurt. The shovel means you're gonna suffer. The shovel means you're gonna hit rock. a lot of time. And we all know what digging through rock is like. When you hit a fucking root, you gotta fucking get some more tools out. If I had no more tools, just a fucking shovel. I was choosing the 4-lane highway. This is when I decided to pick up that fucking shovel that we all decide not to take. I had to make a change in my life. So I said, you know what? I have to join the military. I went on a Navy SEAL training. Became the only person I believe in history to go through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks in 1 year. I completed 2 of them. Hell Week is 130 hours of continuous training. You might get 2 hours of sleep. The first few weeks get you ready for this hard 1 week of training. I had to become obsessed. No matter what was in front of me, I had to figure out a way to overcome it. So when things hit you in life that you're afraid of or you're not good at, the first thing you're going to say to yourself is, why am I here anyway? This isn't for me. The water's too cold. The sun's too hot. I'm getting up too early. Why am I doing this to myself? That's what the normal mind says. I had to start training my mind to think about, how the fuck can I get through this? Not giving myself a way out. Never giving myself, creating a wall around all the fucking ways out in my mind. I had to slowly start to build this fucking wall so my mind knew this motherfucker is not going to give himself a way out of here. In my first Hell Week, I had a huge setback. I was broken. My legs were broken. I had double pneumonia. I got rolled back to day 1, week 1 of Navy SEAL training. I got through that second Hell Week. During the second Hell Week, I actually broke my knee. I continued to limp around for a couple weeks. I couldn't make it anymore. Got rolled back to day 1, week 1. I'll never forget standing there in front of Captain Bowen. He was the CEO in charge of Navy SEAL training at the time. And he had no mercy on anybody. If he believed in managing your expectations, I wouldn't be here today. He challenged me again. I was challenged my whole life, not by the mindset of managing expectations, by exceeding expectations, not by managing them. I'm standing there with crutches. I'm sitting in his office. He looks at me, he goes, Goggins, this is your last time. We're gonna put you through Navy SEAL training. This will be your 3rd Hell Week in 1 year. We're not gonna put you through a 4th. So this is your last time. I'm sitting there thinking, how am I gonna get through this? I'm badly jacked up. My legs are broken. My knee is messed up. And he goes, you have a couple of months to get better. A couple of months isn't gonna do it. I won't get healed up in a couple of months. But I realized I'm gonna get through this shit. I'm gonna find a way to get through it, because why? I put barriers in my mind. So my 3rd Hell Week, I went in there with pretty much, I would put a black sock on first. I would get duct tape. And I duct taped my ankles all the way up to my calf every single morning. And then I put another black sock over it. And what that did, that prevented me from moving my ankle. So I didn't really, I wasn't flexing my shin as much. And I started running with just my hip flexors. In this Hell Week, it was a bad Hell Week. We had a guy die on Thursday morning of Hell Week. I went on to become a Navy SEAL. Greatness is not something that you meet once. It's something that you meet thousands of fucking times in your life. And you don't reach it if you're not constantly in constant fucking pursuit of fucking greatness. So if my mind were to say right now, I'm great, I just lost. We're gonna grow. We're not gonna triple down on our strengths. We're not gonna do that crap. We're gonna work on our weaknesses so we grow. We need friction to do that. Without friction, there's no growth. Without friction, there's confusion. Confusion is, David Goggins, how did you become who you are today? I put a bunch of fucking friction in my life. And I grew. That's how I did it. You know how you get mentally tough? It's a lifestyle. Instead of hitting that fucking snooze button in the fucking morning and not making your bed and not cleaning your house, you don't hit the snooze button. You get up. You don't want to go run, you go run. You don't want to go swim, you go swim. You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed. You don't want to clean your house, you clean your house. You don't want to study, you fucking study. That's how you start to callous your mind. So that became my life. If you say you're gonna wake up at 4 o'clock in the fucking morning to go run, wake up at 4 o'clock it's gonna suck. It's not gonna be fun. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow. Embrace the suck.